good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome to the garden. Welcome to Garden Conversations with Rose. On today, Good Friday, for those of us who celebrate and observe and acknowledge Good Friday, I want to wish you a very blessed Good Friday. So this afternoon, we are excited about the guest that we have to present to you today because she has a treasure trove of important information, good things to share for all of us that will certainly help us and motivate us as women, and even if we aren't, if they're men, of course. So today we have with us Dr. Margaret Wallace, otherwise known as Dr. Triphi. And Dr. Triphi is a licensed psychologist and hypnotherapist. She is a counselor, she's a mentor, she's a coach, she's a teacher, she is an author, and she's a mother. And of course, she is a Nature Island woman like myself, hailing from the beautiful Dominica, now residing in Atlanta, Georgia. And we are very, very pleased to have with us Dr. Triphi. So, Dr. Triphi, Margaret Cuz, welcome to the garden.
Thank you so much. I feel very honored. And I hope that I have something to offer whoever is listening or whoever listens after you've shared this with the world.
And I am certain that whatever you have to present to us today will definitely make a big difference in the lives of many persons, women as well as men. So, as I would have indicated earlier, for those of us who have been following the page, as well as those of us in our affiliate groups like Creative Faith Community, SSS, and Trauma Transformers, as well as anybody else out there on YouTube or on Facebook, I have said that we are looking at April's Way in the garden. And April's Way because my own mom, Veronique Dinard, celebrates her 95th birthday in the month of April. As a matter of fact, it's on April 29th. And as I was thinking last night, I just realized that my mother celebrates four important milestones in the month of April. So, of course, it's her birthday. Her firstborn son was born in the month of April. She got married in the month of April and also separated in the month of April. And I think those things are very significant. And so maybe we will hear something more about it later. So we are saying April's Way, the Mother Cries. So in March, we told you how enough we were, how strong and vibrant and impactful we were as women. We talked about being enough. We said, I am woman. We said, she is woman. But today, here we are talking about the Mother Cries. And I was just thinking, why is it we had told you that the woman is so strong and she's so brave, but here we are today saying the mother cries. So I'm going now to lean on Dr. Triphi to tell us a little bit about why is it mothers are crying? Why can't we be strong? Why can't we be that strong woman that we are? Why do women cry? Dr. Triphi, in your experience, or even as a woman going forth, why are women crying? Why are mothers crying?
Well, this is a beautiful question because to me, I see this in several parts. So, your question is why can we not be strong? Why are we crying so much? Number one, a woman's vulnerability is one of her superpowers as a feminine human being. I believe that some people have equated vulnerability with weakness. And so the assumption is that a woman crying or a human being crying is not strong. In fact, crying is a coping skill because many of us have the experience in our bodies of crying or wanting to have that big cry, that big, I need a big Oprah ugly cry. And after we've done that, feeling as if our tears had washed away a lot of the emotional debris we might have been carrying on the inside. Why do women cry? Women are biologically predisposed because of the way neurotransmitters move our emotions. And so when we feel sad, we do what our bodies tell us to do, which is to cry. We have not been socialized to think that crying is not good for us. And people expect women to cry. As far as the reasons that we're crying, I believe the feminine in the world, women in the world, because we are more likely to expose and express our vulnerability, which, like I said, is a superpower for a feminine person. But people who cannot understand vulnerability misuse our vulnerability. And I hear, like I think a lot of people lean into the scripture about woman being the weaker vessel on the outside, physical. So human beings are masculine and feminine, both, okay? But on the inside, that's where the steel and the strength is. So our masculine energies on the inside. That allows us, yes, to feel, but we can be solid as a rock when it comes to having to bear the burdens of childbearing, child raising, navigating relationships with spouses who might or might not really properly understand how to care for us and nurture that feminine vulnerability in us. I think many women also suffer who also they squeeze into you. They don't know how to appreciate the vulnerability and they do too much. They do
Hey,
too much. Yeah.
I like that answer. And what I particularly like best is when you said that our vulnerability is a superpower, because I don't think I have thought of it that way ever. But I also like when you say that crying is a coping skill, because I myself have cried. And once I'm done crying, I do feel better. So I want to thank you very much for that response. So I know that you have worked as a counselor and a therapist, and you would have encountered, I hope, and I believe you probably would have encountered women from perhaps a wide cross section, maybe. I want to ask you if the issues that confront women while they engage in so much crying, whether it is that they bawling loudly or they sobbing or they weeping or they doing it internally, does it go across racial lines? Does it go across socioeconomic status? Or is it confined to one set? What have you noticed?
So that vulnerability, that the crying, the feeling in Dominica when we grew up, my mom used to say, your blood is very close to your skin. Essentially, you feel a lot. It's across ethnicities, it's across nationalities. It's really, it's a biological thing and it's a very universal response to our pain. I think as we grow as women, when I say grow, I mean as we become more confident in who we are, in our right to have those feelings, and in our right to ask for change in the people around us who might be able to shift things in our environment to make us feel better. As we become more confident in learning the skills and actually practicing the skills, telling people when no, this is not good for me, speaking up and saying, I don't want any more of this, and going as far as applying consequences by our actions to people who refuse to adjust. I think uh, that the weakness maybe we feel with accessing our emotions, that's where we start understanding that's a strength. Because if I can use my connection to my feelings to identify when something is not good for me, and then I have the skill of speaking up and asking for change, life opens up and I become more comfortable in my skin because I realize I can change something that is not working for me by asking for better, by asking for different. And if I don't get it, I have the power to make a different choice for myself so that that feeling, that nasty feeling, that bad feeling, well, no feeling is bad, but that painful feeling like anxiety, embarrassment, shame, guilt, disgust, then I can manage those feelings better.
Very well. So, what I gathered from what you just said, and I just want to re echo it for all of us out there, that whereas all women throughout ethnicity, socioeconomic status, we are prone to that aspect of us that make us cry, as we grow and develop, confidence is important, support, as well as coping skills, and the ability to access whatever it is we need to access, that in itself is a great thing for us in order to manage whatever we're going through that causes us to cry. So that's what I heard coming from what you just said. And I am very grateful for that response. And I'm certain that our audiences out there, those who are listening and watching, are listening and are taking notes themselves. So I wanted to kind of veer off a little bit into another aspect of Women Cries, and it is going to touch you a little bit personally, because that to me is very important. So I'm thinking now about the area of grief. I know that you yourself would have gone through some grief in within the last few months, and as a woman and as a mother, you had to be there for your own children. All right. So I notice also that you coined the term travel therapy, which I very much like and appreciate. And that in itself seemed to have been a major way for you to begin the healing process and coping with all of that. So can you just talk to the audience out there, the audiences out there, and tell them a little bit about travel therapy and how women themselves, what different things they could do when grief comes along? Because of course, grief comes to a woman in various ways. And as I'm thinking of grief maybe when a woman has a miscarriage, even when she has a stillbirth. My own mother had a stillbirth, the one after me. Maybe if she loses the breadwinner, if she loses a child because of kidnapping, it's not a death, but it's a grief. What is happening? Is the grief different? What is going on here? So I know it's a lot I've asked you, and I hope it isn't too much and you have gotten all what I've said. So just talk to us a little bit, please.
Me, I'll start with this. So the story for those people who don't know is that last Mother's Day, right? Ironically, talking about mothers crying. So on Mother's Day, my kid's father, we were married when we were 26 and 27 and divorced in our mid 30s. He died on Mother's Day. Not your mind, perhaps, having to think that you have to go now tell your kids that their dad has died. So that was very difficult for me, having to be the one to bear the news, number one. And number two, having to be the one to catch them in the moment as they're falling and to be there for two kids on an ongoing basis. So part of, it came to me that, hey, we could go home to Dominica, which for me, Dominica has a special kind of healing energy. It has a healing vibration in Dominica that regardless of what the people do, the soil, the trees, the water, in and of itself is a healing space. The country is. And I've known this since I was a little girl because I saw people who would send their kids down from England, from the US, from Canada, down to Dominica. And within 2 months, 3 months, the kids who they thought were out of control were regulated emotionally again. So I said, we're going to go to Dominica and we're going to just hang out for a month. And COVID was just exploding as we did it, but we made the best of it. Went to we tried to go to the boiling lake, went to the beach, went to food, like really just dived into the culture and the essence of Dominica. And I'll tell you, by the time we got back 30 days later, my daughter, who had gotten to where she didn't even want to deal with going outside, she was just so distraught. Plus, COVID was there. That girl was, hey, when are we going back to
Oh,
Dominica?
mhm.
Okay. My son stayed in Dominica for a little while after and came back and had made so much emotional progress. And it's not just time that heals. The idea that time heals, that's not enough. Yeah, time, it might not be as present on your mind, but for some people, time alone does nothing. There must be interventions. So something like travel, what I found and what I learned from that first experience is that travel forces you to psychology do things that bring out a big burst of positive input into you. An injection. It's also forcing you to move and do and get out of your head a lot and your feelings a lot because your brain must now focus on, hey, let's get the ticket. Hey, let's climb aboard the plane. Hey, we got to make our way through customs. While you're making your way through customs, you're not thinking about how sad you are. You're thinking about where's my passport. So you're giving your brain time to stop, like just staying in that frozen state. So such a positive impact it had that in December, which was essentially what, 9 months later, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, yeah, 7 months later, my fiance died again suddenly on us. And I knew right away if I stayed frozen, I would stay frozen for a long time because grief and trauma do that. They keep us in a state of freeze because your brain keeps looping memories. And so to get yourself out of it quickly, for me, I realized, okay, I could do therapy. I could do grief therapy. But what could a therapist tell me or do for me in an hour, 2 days, a month after my fiance dies? I would just be bawling the entire time, which is where my heart was, what I was feeling at the time. So I knew to help me ease the pressure and the pain, which was excruciating, travel, travel, forcing myself to do and go and be was going to be the answer. So what I did is I went to Jamaica alone
Mm.
and said, yes, I am going to go move and be and do. And yes, it doesn't heal. It didn't heal me from my grief, but it did so much. It was a big, positive, infused joy because some of the experiences there reminded me, so to speak, of my footing. Like I felt like I started finding my footing again because I felt so emotionally dysregulated and destabilized. Because at that point, you're starting to question God, like, what's happening here? Why is all of this happening so soon? It's just back to back to back. So it helped me find my footing again when I did my first travel experience. The second one, I took my girlfriends and my one girlfriend, my daughter, and my niece. Together, we went off to Italy because that was important to blast. I had another blast. Most recently, for spring break, I went with his boys to Florida because that Sarasota is a place that we all went together and that was meaningful for us. And so we could do some of the things, we could go to some of the places where we had been I've been back for a week and I've been telling my staff because I haven't been able to go to work really. I've given myself 6 months of healing time. So I've been telling my staff, I feel so energized this past week. I'm doing as much as I can and just waiting. And, because grief is a thing, it's up and down. It's up and down. So while I have the energy, I'm just doing so that when I crash, if I crash again, I will have accomplished a lot because, you put your work on hold, things have to be done. So it's given me a lot of time to catch up. So that's what I'd say to you about travel therapy. Behavioral activation, if only you would look at the amount of deals there are to travel. If travel is a thing for you, if you're considering it, you know what I mean? Like if it's a consideration, please do some research and see how cheap some flights are. And it's just getting yourself in a different place, in a different space. So I'm planning my next adventure because that's my intention for the year,
Yes.
at least once a month, to find somewhere to travel to get that big, massive dose of self care, behavioral activation, where again, I'm doing different things that mean positive things to me because the amount of loss was so intense. I have to replace what was removed. And so that's why I need this massive dose, these massive doses of joy, yeah, if you cannot travel, I would say get into something you find meaningful, like hobbies, learn a new language, learn a new task, learn a new skill. If there was something, you've always thought about doing, but you didn't have the energy, but you still have some interest in it, I would say start that, but let it be something that includes physical activity until you're ready to talk about the trauma and talk about the stress, talk about the grief. Grief from losing a baby, grief from losing a spouse, a mother, a job, a house. It feels the same. Energetic loss from your life. So it doesn't matter. A lot of people might tell you, oh, why are you doing so much?
Mm.
Hey, you know yourself, you know what you need, and you have every right to create whatever experience you want to create for yourself. You have every right, every right. So I'm big on travel therapy right now. The impact of me having forced myself to get unstuck, unfrozen.
Very well. So, Doc, I heard the word movement, 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 movement. When we are going through some grief, whatever it may look like, we need to find whatever it is that works for us. We need to get going
Mhm.
so as to bring ourselves around, even if it doesn't come around all at once, but gradually it's a process. So that's what I heard. And I hope those of you out there who are listening and watching heard that as well. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. So there is a little line that I use, and I use our Creole some time ago, and I said Tifila asset um in Dominican Creole, meaning the girl is pregnant. I just wanted you to touch a little bit about that. In our Caribbean region, mostly, I don't know if it occurs elsewhere, but the idea of a girl becoming pregnant is thought of as very shameful. It's sort of insult, as it were. Girls are cussed and looked down, and even women themselves. And sometimes that brings a lot of grief or pain to the girl's mother and to the girl itself. I just wanted you to give maybe a few tips or say something to us out there, those of us out there who are listening, where it is we need to do some readjustments in the way we look at that. I'm not sure if much has changed over time because I still know in some areas, in particular in schools, when a girl becomes pregnant in school, she is robbed of her education of sorts. She's not given an opportunity to get back in the school setting, whereas some countries might have made some adjustments. So, for example, in Antigua, if a child under 16 gets pregnant, she is asked to withdraw from the school setting, but she's allowed to come back, maybe not necessarily to the same school, but she's allowed to come back and complete her education once she's below 16. I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the kind of grief that a young girl goes through, and even her mother, perhaps, and those around her go through because of her finding herself pregnant.
But you are correct. Very often, the woman, the girl, escape the experience is very the disappointment maybe of the community that that child did not follow their teaching or the shame that a lot of us who grew up with Caribbean orientations feel from the community, from the friends of the family, from the church, from the society as a whole, even from people who don't know you. There's a lot of judgment
Mhm.
placed on the mother, on the young mother. 10, 15, 20 years later, realizing how much of a gift that baby was.
Mm.
And yes, that baby, that soul chose to come in through that vessel at that time. And because we are so locked into older systems, that really something is still off with the system if you have a system where a 16-year-old gets pregnant. Like something is not all the way working with the whole system. Some other person didn't teach somebody, or some other person who might have been able to step in and offer. Maybe they saw something, but maybe they didn't feel enough, or it didn't feel good, so they kept going along that path. A lot of our parents too, and the community, this is the model they offered. Many of them are unmarried. So we miss the opportunity if from the onset we already cut off so many opportunities for the unborn child. Because if I say, you 16-year-old, you must stop your education, that means whatever life she was creating for that child now is going to be, she's starting behind the eight ball. She's going to be struggling. So that child is going to be struggling. So that child is going to be already on. We make it much harder for that unborn child. And we miss the fact that this unborn child might be the hope of the future. And we forget and we miss out on the opportunity to nurture those young children. So, look, nobody is excited about the fact that their teenage child is pregnant and expecting, because they worry for you, they're anxious for you, they fear that you might have it harder than they really wanted it for you. But reality is reality. What is in front of us is in front of us, and we always have a choice with how we respond to things and how we react. We always have a choice. The fact that your child is pregnant means there's no need to worry. So what will we do now about it? What will we do now about it? How can we support you now more? Because a lot of people change when they change their minds quickly, and offering the other side of things, then minds can shift immediately. What I mean by that again is, what if we looked at the fact that it is here already? She is pregnant. There's no avoiding it. Okay? How can we make the best out of this situation now? Do I now need to give her more support? If she can't continue school in a normal setting, do I now advise my daughter, hey, no, you made that choice given the circumstances around you. You already knew that if I got pregnant, I won't be able to go to school the normal way. So let's talk about your other options here. You're going to become a seamstress. You're going to become you're going to get your certificate in culinary arts so that you can work at the best hotels and develop your creativity and your skills, so that you can generate income for yourself in a different way, so that we can still have a system that creates a good life for this new baby that's coming. It's not going back, it's coming. So what are we going to do?
Indeed. And of course, I hear a lot about support, 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 reorienting of minds, changing the narrative, how we did things, removing the old ideas, and seeing how best we can move forward. So that's what I heard this afternoon. So we have pretty much come to the end of our little discussion, Doc. And so I just want to personally say to you how I appreciate you so much. And just for all of you out there who are listening, I need you to go to Amazon and purchase a copy of Dr. Triphi's book called Do It Now. Do It Now, Do It Now has made a lot of good impressions on me. Hence, I'm here now. I've never thought of being in this space. Go out there and support her, purchase a book. You will be sure to reap great dividends. So, Doc, because I appreciate you, I really love you. I love how you have encouraged and motivated me. And I know you have done so for many other women all over, and indeed men, of course. Keep on doing the work that you're doing. You're a good soul. You're still a teacher. Once a teacher is always a teacher. I see the teacher in you all the time. And so I just want to thank you once again for being with me in the garden. And I am certain that whatever you have given to us today will bear some great fruit. So just give us a little closing as we come to a conclusion this afternoon.
I really want to say thank you. Thank you for you've been very supportive as well. To me, you you post, you answer, you are there, you're on the lives, you're checking in, you're engaged, you're active, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to watch you uh, actually activate these powerful gifts you have within yourself. I tell people each of us is unique. If the world didn't need us, it would expel us. The world doesn't waste its time. The earth doesn't waste its time. When you see dead leaves are on a tree, they fall off and they go into the dirt. So as long as there's life, as long as there's life and energy, there is stuff to do. There's work to do. There is work to
Mm,
do. We talk about do it now. Look, I learned when I was 21, when my mom died. Like one day she was here, the next day she was gone. I did not even get to say goodbye to her body. And I realized, girl, if you've got something on your heart to do it now. There are
mm,
times when we'll get stuck in life is going to do its stuff. It's going to throw its hardest at you,
mm,
but you got to wake up. You feel what you feel all your feels, but you can't stay in a state of frozenness
mhm,
because it's almost doing a disservice to earth, to life, to mother nature, to come into the planet with all of your gifts and to hide them under a bushel. You're not, nobody's going to love you more for pretending you are less than who you are. There's no virtue gifted. None. There's no virtue in it. So for those of us who grew up in the cultures where people are always talking about what you're doing, well, it's okay. They're going to keep talking. At least give them something positive to talk about.
well,
At least give them something positive to talk about. I think when we show up, when you show up, Rose, you give somebody else who might be, because look, there are levels. Everything has a level. You have the best of the best of the best, the highest, the highest, the highest, and the lowest of the lowest of the lowest. Each of us at any given point is somewhere along that continuum. So you might be here and somebody might be looking up to you here. Mm. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So you have to keep doing what you're doing because you don't know who you're encouraging or teaching by your model, by braving the fact that you feel anxious and look, I got to do this video, I got to do this live, but it's on my heart so heavy for me to do it. What you got to do is find out how to do it. You got to start where you are. Start where you are. That's the essence of my book. Do it now. Start with whatever you have, wherever you are. You don't know how to do StreamYard yet? Start with your iPhone. You want to write a book, but you don't know yet how to start? Start writing with your typewriter, your keyboard, your computer, and just start putting it in folders already. Start somewhere. Ask for know everything. If you were supposed to know everything, I mean,
mm.
you'd be a magician. I mean, then you don't need to be here. But this is us. All of us show up here to learn lessons. You're not going to be saved by keeping yourself small. It's going to hurt if you're keeping yourself smaller than you're supposed to be. It's going to hurt you still. So you think if I show up, oh, I'm going to get hurt because they're going to talk about me. They're going to say, I think I know everything.
Mm,
But also hurt when you keep yourself in that little ball. Oh, because you're going to watch other people like Rose, Ramona, Gloria, doing what they feel called to do and feel pain. You will feel pain because there's a part of you that will know I am not living up to my full assignment. That's for me, that's the worst pain because I cannot fool myself.
Mhm.
Cannot fool myself. Don't get distracted with the foolishness of, oh, I had a baby at 16. That's just life in.
Mm.
Don't get distracted with the fact that the father of your kids dies and 7 months later your fiance dies. Months before you, 2 months before you're supposed to get married, your fiance, boom, he's gone. Okay, does that mean your life has ended? That's ridiculous. That means you now have to create a new plan. Hmm? You
Mhm.
create a new plan. So start wherever you are, ask for help. Once you've asked for help and you figured out what to do, commit to doing what to do. Commit to doing the work. There's no magic. There's no magic in life. Successfully without struggle. So you're not going to be spared from struggle. Don't be a lazy bum. This is, you got to work, you got to do it. Okay? As you're doing it and you learn these new skills, keep practicing so that you can become better and better and better and better. This brain of ours, this mind of ours, it's full of negative thoughts and stuff we heard people tell us. You got to work with your mind too. Work with your mind. You might have to find a therapist. You might have to read 20 books, but that's what you got to do. After you've done all of this work, though, let me tell you, you gotta, for in my view, you must be connected to what's bigger than you, your God of your understanding. Because there are some things you can never prepare for. And there's some things that you need divine support and intervention for. So connect to your divine source. After you've done these things, stand, watch, show up, be consistent, do what's on your heart to do. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Okay. I think after you've done your life in this kind of way, when you're 69, 72, you can't look back and regret. You can't look back and regret because you showed up. You said yes to your life. So that's what I want to leave you with. That's what I want to leave you with. If there's something on your heart to do, I promise you that life and that God of your understanding has made provision for you already in those places where you cannot ever foresee. You cannot foresee them, but you must start walking to get there. And that's it. That's all I got to say today.
And that was a lot, much food for thought, a whole lot of treasure. Dr. Triphi, once again, I want to thank you so much for being in the garden and know that this isn't going to be your last time. So thank you. Have a good evening and have a very blessed Easter as well. Thank you, Doc.
Happy Easter to you. Give my love to my auntie on her birthday when it comes. Tell her happy Easter. Okay?
I will, definitely. Bye bye.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye bye.
Mhm.